Good morning.
We would like to make you an interview about what do you think is the role of young people in all of the. What do you think is the role of young people in all of the climate change things involved, and what if, do you think they are important, and what do you think they should do?
I think young people are very important. If I didn't believe young people are important, I wouldn't be working in educational programs. I think that there's different elements of the roles that you need to play as young people. I think the one is that you're a catalyst. So you should be able to ask hard questions, to challenge the system, to make sure that your future is as good as it can be, yours and your generation. On the other hand, I also think that you need to drive yourselves to action, and action is not only striking. If you think about it, striking is in fact no action. Okay? When you strike, you do nothing, or you protest. But I think that you also need to take responsibility and control and figure out what are the things that can be done. Not only tell other people what they should do, but show what can be done in order to make sure that not only that your generation, but that the older generations actually see that the commitment is not only talking but is also doing. I think that's very important. The other thing which I think is very important is that when you talk about young people, there's different levels of young people. There's young people that are the age of 6, and there's young people that are your age or 25 years old. Which means that when we talk about young people, we also need to accept the fact that some of the problems are very complex, and you need to understand the problems. Right? So I'll give you an example of what I mean. If we stop flying completely, which is what some people here are trying to promote, what will happen to the children in Bali that their parents work in the tourism industry, for example? All right. So everything that we're dealing with is very complex, and the more you understand how complex it is, the more the solutions and the actions that you can take are more real. Okay, so that's very important. The last thing I want to say, and I want to say this to both of you as young reporters for the environment. In education, we talk a lot about critical thinking. You know, critical thinking has to be part of education. But what's very important is also to have critical expression. So it's not only to be able to think critically, but it's also to be able to say things and make your critique in a way which is based on facts, that is pragmatic sometimes, that is true, as I said, that it's true, and that is something that we're missing today, because we talk a lot about fake news, we talk a lot about disinformation that's going on, and that's very true. So if you think about the media and the role of the media, it's really important that in our society the media really brings the truth, and it protects the truth in what we're doing. So for me, that's also very important. It's not only that you critique, but that you build your argument in the correct way. And I think that if young people will do that, they will be taken much more seriously by the older generations. Because it's very hard to start arguing with you when you bring the facts, when you know your data, when you understand the science. And not everybody can do that, but at least the leadership should be able to do that.
And
sorry.
And do you think like older people that have more experience should be more focused on guiding those young people who are starting to learn, or should they also act?
First of all, what's young people? Do you know that the UN defines youth until the age of 35? That looks really old to you today at 16, right? 35 looks very far away. So one of the things that I think is that there's a lot of people that you might not think as young people that are going to live a very long time into climate change, right? So they have to invest in this just as much as you are, because if you're 35 and you're going to live until the age of 85, hopefully, all right, there's still 50 years of your life ahead of you, more than half of your life. You should be very concerned about climate change as well. It's not only 16-year-olds from Sweden that should be thinking about this, all right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I have children. I have 2 children. These 2 children are the most important people in the world to me. Of course, I am concerned about their future. And I realize that the 2 people that I love the most in the world, if I'm talking just as a selfish individual, I'm not looking, of course I have to be committed to this cause, all right? And anybody who's not doing this is, I need to question their motives. If you have children, you need to be concerned about this. So absolutely, it's not only showing you or helping you. I'm not just helping you through processes like you're doing now to figure out what it is that you can do. But we also have to take direct action on the things that we're doing, what we drive, how much we fly, what we eat. There's a lot of things that we can do to reduce our impact. And I think that that's everybody's responsibility.